everybody. This is Justin Case of American Newscape, rejoining our friend, Cousin Scott Dudley, for American Consciousness. Hello, Scott. Welcome back, and I do mean welcome back to American Newscape.
Right? Let's just keep running it back, just like we're playing against the Detroit Lions, kicking off to us because they're scoring touchdowns on us.
There
We're
you
going to
go.
run it back again.
Okay.
Perfect. So let's talk topics. One of the things we've got simmering over at the dog park is what is sacred to you. And we were like going to serve it this week, right? We were like checking it and tasting it, and everybody kind of felt like it was like, we really want this. It got more complicated because we realized that a lot of the things that might cross that barrier, that might rise to that threshold of sacred, were things that we weren't as aware of being sacred. So it really has caused kind of like a whole reflective, recursive thing. So we're going to keep talking about that one, probably bring it back next week. So I thought, well, okay, what are we going to talk about? And I thought, you know what? Let's talk about dreaming. Why dreaming? Because I write up my stories on Facebook of my dreams because I have very detailed, vivid dreams. And then I'll talk to my friends, well, what do you dream about? Well, I don't really dream very much. And that is completely true at one level. Because they're ultimately everybody's dreaming. We all go through the same sleep brain processes. It's remembering. It's being able to kind of connect to that in a way that gets it to stick well enough that you can pull it out and break it down and do whatever. And so I'm a dreamer. For me, dreamland is as fun as real life. Maybe more fun. Certainly more entertaining. A dream I had this week, and I won't read it because I remember it really well now, is there were 5 of us living in this old ranch house, right? And we were like a bunch of just scruffy old dudes kind of hanging out, and it was kind of apocalyptic because we're out in the middle of nowhere, and there really wasn't a lot of electricity or amenities or cable TV or anything like that. Just us. And we had, between the 5 of us, kind of decided that the real key knowledge for humans to move beyond this kind of post-apocalyptic thing had been embedded, locked into people who weren't aware of it. And it was kind of rare. So not everybody had this, but different people had different parts of the puzzle deep within them. And so what we were doing was we were working on how do we get that piece of the puzzle accessed if the person themselves don't even know they're carrying it. And we run into this guy named Rick. So Rick's wandering around, and he doesn't have a family, doesn't have a tribe, he's not part of some village somewhere. He just kind of was wandering through one day, and we start talking to him. And we start saying, hey, can we practice this on you? And as it turned out, he knew the location of the last remaining group of unicorns. Odd as heck, right? And it's dreamland, and stuff like this happens. And so we're able to begin to do this process on him and get better at it. So we're like scientists, we're like working on it. And we're using that, we don't have tools, we're not like laboratory kind of stuff. We're using kind of empathy and mnemonic devices and all sorts of kind of brain-to-brain stuff. I mean, sadly, we did not have Spock to do the Vulcan mind meld. I know you're a huge Star Trek fan, Justin. But we used all these kind of person-to-person kind of things, and we were able to get a lot of information. We were able to maybe virtually be with a unicorn and experience that, and it was crazy cool. Unicorns are amazing beasts, as it turns out. They live for centuries. And we couldn't tell if they were breeding, and ultimately we really were trying to get the location, not so that we could actually physically visit them, just so we could get that level of information. And that was basically the dream. Ultimately, we sent a couple people, once we knew it worked, we sent a couple of people to go find other people. There's more knowledge out there. You guys go find it. And now that we learned how to kind of screen for it, and the rest of us stayed and worked with Rick. And I woke up like just with the unicorns, this fresh, basically I could smell them. I could like stable smell, and woke up going, wow, that was really something. And then I wrote it down. I put it up on social media, and I was laughing at myself because I was like, these are like 1950s and 1960s pulp sci-fi plots, but to me that is fun, and because they're so vivid and I remember them so well, it really is just like being alive. It's just like waking life. I wake up in the morning going, well, that was an adventure, wasn't it? So
you find them refreshing, I assume?
I find them. I want to say it's like lived experience. Sometimes it's refreshing. Sometimes it's tiring. One of the things that helps me with this or keeps me in pursuit is not judging dream content on oh, that was horrible, I never want to do it again. So I've had recurring. I remember when I was like 6 years old, the devil was chasing me, and it happened like dream after dream after every time I get in a dream, the devil would come and literally just like chase me and chase me and chase me. I finally figured something out. I could step back from the dream, imagine it as a TV show, and reach up and change the channel, and it was gone. And I woke up after that going, oh, that was so awesome. I can remember the first time I flew in a dream. The first time I flew, I had to sprout wings. And I did. I sprouted wings. I actually flew over and picked up one of my good friends and had them climb on my back, and we flew all over the city of Lansing, Michigan.
Wow.
It was really cool. But over the years, I learned how to basically fly without wings. So now if I'm in the middle of a dream, and typically in one where there's a lot of open space, and that could be it could be indoors, but it would still be like a large common area with a high ceiling or something. I can just sit there and I can will myself to levitate, and then I can soar like a freaking bird. But it's funny because I have to put myself in a certain mind frame. So it's like the vibe has to. There's a certain way of thinking to fly, and I'm really aware of that when I'm dreaming, because I'm like, well, I'm not flying very well today. What's going on? And I'm like, oh, my head's in the wrong spot. I've had I've had 3 ghost houses, and one of which, after years of trying to kill me, I actually helped rebuild it and make it all nice and stuff like that. And I found a hidden passage up to an attic where there was like this jacuzzi, and there was this pink blob thing living in the jacuzzi, kind of glowed a little bit. And it was psychic, and it could just talk to me. And it said it had been there all along, and it knew me from way back. And we had like a really nice connection stuff. And it's still up there. And sometimes I end up in the house. I'm dreaming, and oop, here's that house again. And I'll be like, well, I'm just going to sweep the porch today. Or sometimes I'll be like, no, I'm going to go up to the 3rd floor, find that hidden door, scoot on up to the attic, and spend some time doing that. That's why I want to talk about dreams, because I think anybody who wants to be in that spot can be, if you do certain things and manage your life in certain ways.
Okay.
So let's jump in. I think the first thing that really launched my greater appreciation of dreams was a practice called Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is the practice, a specific practice of yoga that focuses on the when you're falling asleep, right, Justin?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you're asleep, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like boom, boom. The practice of Yoga Nidra is to stay in that spot between sleep and awake and be aware of it and hold it for like 20 to 30 minutes. And it is an amazing spot because you're in both places at once. And so you're able to kind of sit there as a person conscious and observing, and also be sleeping and tripping into dream states. And that's really interesting, because now you're like, I'm conscious, I'm aware, I'm watching this, and it's a dream. And that's called lucid dreaming. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But ultimately, that really helped. So let's talk a little bit about Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra, you want to lay down on your back, comfortable place, just like you were going to go to sleep. And you want to tell yourself, I'm practicing Yoga Nidra. I'm not going to go to sleep. and make that commitment. And ultimately, for me, naps have a way of catching up to me. So, but to practice this, that's what you do. And then you proceed to kind of do a little bit of steady breathing. It's 3-4 breaths, just to kind of, nice and deep and slow, and just to kind of get the calm, relaxing breath thing trained in and running. And then you start doing very specific up and down your body awareness checks. You're not going to do any loosening or tightening. You're just going to focus your awareness on your toe, on your left toes, on your left knee, on your left hip, on your left abdominal section, on your left chest muscles, on your, up, down your arm, down your back, and then do your right side. And then once you've done that, you can kind of stop and do the whole thing again for a little while, and just sit there in awareness. I got it. And then there's a couple other things. Glasses help. One of the things is visualize. And if you've seen like The Ring, this might be traumatic, but visualize standing in a well and having the bucket on the rope, and the well being very, very deep. So deep that it gets, black and you can't see into it. Visualize slowly lowering the bucket into the well until you can't see it, until you can no longer see it. Take a couple breaths, visualize backing it back out, all the way back up. Do I don't know, hey, when you were a kid, did you guys ever, like in camp, ever play like light as a feather, stiff as a board?
Never went to camp.
Did you ever do it in your neighbor's backyard, or when your parents weren't watching?
No, I don't think so, Scott.
It's actually, you get a person in a hypnotic state, and then you say light as a feather, stiff as a board, and then everybody's got like just two fingers under various parts of their body, and everybody just very, very gently lifts, and to the extent that that person's hypnotized, they begin to float. It's just like they're weightless. It was always pretty trippy when we were kids.
Well, you were touching on hypnosis then, but your dream state that you're searching for is very similar to self-hypnosis.
Very much so. You're doing a lot of the same things, but you're trying to, the opposite, I guess, is you're trying to retain a degree of conscious awareness. So do a light as a feather thing. Just imagine yourself light as a feather, as light as you can imagine yourself. Take a couple breaths. Imagine yourself as heavy as lead. Just plowing back into the surface of the bed you're laying in, or on the floor, or wherever you're laying down. Do hot and cold. Hot and cold are good ones too. Let's see, what else are we going to do? Oh, that's a good one. Pain and pleasure. Imagine as much pain. Just focus in on all of the pain that's in you, and just kind of amplify it, and be aware of it, and just be present to it. And then imagine yourself as full of pleasure as you can. And all of these little, as you suggest, is all kind of a little hypnotic. And what it's doing is it's developing your ability to be present in this different state of consciousness. And not that we're present when we're awake. I mean, half of us aren't paying attention to anything any of the time.
Right.
But for this thing, it's you're really trying to dial into, when I'm in this state of in between sleep and awake, can I stay focused? Can I begin to be aware of what's going on around me? Okay. So when I wake up, the first thing I do is be aware that I'm awake. How do you when you're sleeping? Do you like just roll over and resume sleeping, or do you actually stop and go, "Oh, I'm awake"?
Well, it depends. I
Well, when my depends are full, then I actually do have to get up and do
well, I
something
know
about
you
that.
do,
But
but I check the clock, so it depends on when I'm scheduled to get up, whether or not I'm going to allow myself to go back to sleep. May
nice.
may
So
turn
that's
on the
that's
TV.
enough to be awake, though.
Yeah, but I'll
I
go
mean,
back to sleep.
you're
If I have time to sleep, I'll be back to sleep in 1 or 2 minutes.
right. Some people we wake up, we semi wake up a lot of times during the night, and this is an aging thing, so it doesn't get better; it gets worse. Um, and generally, about half the time we have to go pee once we're about 50. But the reality is we do like mini wake ups, and in those mini wake ups, frequently we're passing from REM up a little bit higher, and then we're just going to go right back into the sleep cycle. And that little mini awake time is a magical opportunity, but you got to tell yourself, I'm awake. You got to stop and go, oh, I'm awake. And if you're checking the clock, then right before you check the clock, say, I'm awake. I got to check the clock. Say, was I just dreaming something? Was I having a dream right there? Because what's happening is with your neurology is basically you've dumped that dream into your short term, into your RAM of your computer. It's in your short term memory, and if you don't stop and see it, you don't like stop and go, oh look, there's a pile of papers in my short term memory. I better flip through this and see what's going on. It'll get deleted. It'll just go away, and the dream, whatever dream there was, won't be remembered. So that's the first thing I do is anytime I do even those little micro wake ups, I stop and say, hey, this is a moment. Was I having a dream? If the answer is yes, then what was I dreaming? And really, what I'm asking myself is, was there narrative content? Or was it just something small and random and as far as I can tell, not worth remembering?
Kind of like
And that
kind of like unicorns, right?
kind,
Sorry,
the
sorry, Scott.
unicorn. I'm sorry. The unicorns are really fun. You know, who amongst us has cavorted with unicorns?
N-
I have cavorted with unicorns
okay.
now as of this week. So I'm looking for narrative content, and if there's narrative content, then I'm going to stop and think about that a little bit. Huh? Oh, and for me, like for example, I'll get a lot of. I've traveled to school because I did that for years as part of my graduate program. I traveled to school. We were sitting in the commons area. We were doing this or that or the other thing. I'll get those. I'll get my share of lost wallets. My goodness, those are irritating. Because like you have to get on a plane and you're like, okay, well, I just get my wallet. You pull your wallet out and your driver's license isn't there. You're like, oh, where did I put it? And then you spend the whole rest of the dream trying to kind of catch up and go back and get it. And with the pressure of the plane's going to leave at a certain time, so you've got to get over there. Those are fun, right? The administrative work dreams have dropped off. There's one of the benefits of retiring that you may want to think about is if you get like boring, nasty email dreams, those are gone. But I look for narrative. And if I've got a narrative, then I start pausing for detail. With the dream with the unicorns, I started thinking about what did that ranch house look? How was the house laid out? Was it clean? And it was actually five kind of squatty dudes, so we weren't cleaning the house very well. It was dusty. It was dirty. The windows were all kind of dusted over. Which kind of led to that whole like, well, it must be the apocalypse because nobody's taking care of anything anymore. But I look for details like that because that ultimately is going to help enhance the narrative as it works through. And this doesn't take forever. This is like 30 seconds. This is just a second. Like, well, what was going on there? And I try to remember as many details as I can. And then once I've got that, and some people are there are so some people keep dream journals. You keep one of those old fashioned pencils, the things that people used to write with.
Mm-hmm.
And a notepad of paper. Paper's a product that was developed from trees back in, I don't know, centuries ago. And they just sit there, and the minute that they wake up, they start writing it all down. I commit it to memory, and that actually kind of almost helps me in a way because it forces me to do the work. It's like when that pretty girl gives you a phone number, and you're like, I'm just going to remember it. And if you forget it, it's gone. So for me, that's kind of what I do. I don't try to sort it out. What were the unicorns saying to you, Scott? Where was this going? Why an apocalypse? Why is that something that your brain decided to bring forth into to your awareness? I don't do that stuff. I know people who do, and they're really good at it. There's a 93-year-old professor, psychologist, Stanley Krippner, Krippner, and to his credit, he actually hung out with the Grateful Dead quite a bit.
And why would that be why would that be to his credit, Scott?
Cool is cool. I'm sorry, cool is cool, and you give people their props.
Okay, that's fine. So he smoked,
and he was doing it, before it was popular.
Well,
he just liked those. He liked those guys, and they liked him.
He liked that lifestyle, and he used a lot of herb. And
he did not. He was a fairly academically stodgy, serious dude. So he wasn't tripping the light fantastic.
Okay.
He was trying to figure out what was going on with people who were tripping the light fantastic. So he had. I worked with him a little bit, not too much. He had a thing called a dream table, and everybody who had a dream would go sit at this table for breakfast, and one of us would be selected to talk about the dream, and then each other person at the table would get to kind of talk about what the dream felt like or meant to them. Not a lot of interpretation, more just kind of how does it strike you? Not what does it mean? How did you feel? And it was the spookiest thing ever. I only did it a couple times because it was too spooky to me. Because all of a sudden it was like we all had that dream. It was the same dream. It was consciousness was so interconnected that a part of us knew that dream was happening at some other level. And now that we're talking about it and all the energies together and we're all in the same space, it's the manifestation of it is extending beyond the person who had the dream. And now we're all carrying it like we had it. And that was, to me, it was fantastic. It was very interesting. But I don't play around with stuff like that because I just want to go have fun. I just, and not like entertainment fun. I just want to go experience dreamland for whatever it gives me. Horror, fantasticness, flying. I love flying. Flying is awesome. And just take it and feel it. So that's really my thing with it. And so that's what I'll do. And if I've got a really good story nowadays, I'll do like a tag dreamland and I'll write it down. And ultimately it comes out there. So I do a lot of things to manage this. We've talked a couple times in previous shows, as our longtime loyal listeners are aware, that I use an acupressure mat. And so I lay on a bed of spikes every night for about a half hour or so before I go to sleep. And they're plastic spikes; it's not metal. But they're most assuredly spikes. If you ever stepped on a Lego at night because one of your toddlers left it out, this is like Lego times 50. So when I put this thing away, I put it upside down and on top of something so that I don't step on it at night. And actually, the hardcore people, they stand on it as a part of their practice. And I'm like, well, give you guys credit, man. So I use that, and what that does, it does a couple things. One, it increases my level of painkillers, but the other thing it does is increases my oxytocin levels. Oxytocin is the neurological chemical associated with hugging. It's the when moms have babies, it just blows up in them, and you can see it in cats. You get Luna. Whenever they have kittens, they get really friendly. So a wild cat who has kittens will come up and rub against you and purr, even though they hate humans, because they're just full of this connection chemical, and that chemical supports dreams a little bit. Sadly, alcohol and THC, dream killers for me, in particular for me, but also the research says for everybody. So alcohol messes up your sleep patterns. You have jumpy, irregular sleep, and because of that, you don't really launch or sustain stuff very well. And so it's a dream killer. THC doesn't work that way. THC, 100 million old people now taking it, so they can sleep through the night. THC is different. THC interrupts your short-term memory. Allegedly. I wouldn't personally know, but ultimately what happens with THC is that those people that were around in the 70s, they smoke a little weed and they'd sit around and they'd talk, and they'd have such good ideas. They'd be like crazy good ideas, like, oh, they're going to save the world, or they're going to make a lot of money, or whatever they were talking about. It was like music. It would be great, and unless somebody was writing it down, the next hour, the next day, you'd be like, oh, I know we talked about some really cool stuff, but what was it? So what THC does is it interrupts your short-term memory. And without short-term memory, you're going to have real dream impairment. It's not, you're still going to dream, but it's going to go down the rabbit hole. It's going to be the memory hole, and it's going to be gone. So alcohol and THC, no bueno. Now, there are some things, better living through chemistry. There are some things that actually help dreaming. There is a galantamine, GALANTAMINE, galantamine. It is a supplement. It was designed for supporting people with dementia onset. But it was never a prescription drug. It was always just a supplement. So it's still a supplement, still available. You don't need a prescription for it. Just need to be able to type the words into your phone and with the word buy, and I'm sure it'll jump all over you and stalk you for the next month. It enhances dreams. Period. The end. You dream richer, better, faster, more easily remembered. Everything is really, if you're going to talk about one dream enhancer and one thing to like make your dreaming life richer, galantamine. It's not super cheap. It's kind of moderately priced, but it is a miracle. The miracle worker of dreams. It really is. I've never heard anybody who tried it ever say anything but whoa, that was something else.
Well, doing a quick search, you can get it at Walmart for $7, Scott.
Walmart, but they're amazing people, aren't they? And they'll deliver it to your house now.
They will.
Like pizza.
Like pizza.
Huperzine, HUPERZINEA, does kind of the same neurological process. You have to take a little bit more. Choline, which is a neurochemical in your brain associated with memory, supports dreams. Vitamin B6, vitamin B5 are the dreaming vitamins. Glutathione, another neurochemical. Have you ever taken melatonin to sleep?
I have. Not my
Melatonin.
sleep, not my choice, but
Is your melatonin or your life?
no, it's not my choice. For sleep aid, melatonin is fair at best.
fair at best is and that is fair, because ultimately, if you want to get knocked out, you're talking Ambien or one of the other ones, and those actually do not help your dreaming. So prescription sleep meds or prescription sedatives, even prescription antidepressants, tend to really limit your dreaming. So a lot of prescription meds don't go that way. Melatonin, available over the counter, tends to enhance dreams, tends to amp up your dreaming life. As a matter of fact, when I was taking melatonin, I went from a vivid dreamer to like I need to back it down a little bit, because I was waking up like partied out. It was like hung over from having such amazing dreams. And so there's one called 5-HTP. Remember 5-HTP? They had a little scare a few years back when they got a bad batch or something, and it went off the shelves, but now it's back on the shelves. They figured out it was a bad batch, not a bad chemical.
I don't remember that.
That one is another one that's relatively inexpensive. That is a dream enhancer. So those things will work. And again, as I said, a lot of your regular kind of party stuff like alcohol and THC do not help. And then some prescription medications do not help. Yeah.
I do know the magic bullet for if you want a dream and if you want vivid dreams, and it's the nicotine patch.
Really?
Oh yes.
What happened?
Very, very vivid, lucid dreams. So much so that if you enjoy those dreams, you don't want to go off the nicotine patch, and you wondered why you ever used other tobacco products in your life.
Now, would you have to pop the patch on while you're sleeping?
No, you wore if you're trying to give up nicotine, you wore the nicotine patch 24/7.
Right.
And as I remember, I think you put one on a day or one every other day. Just a wonderful invention of mankind as far as I was concerned. But there's a problem with it because it seemed harder to get off of the patch than it was to get off of the tobacco. And
You're smoking while you're sleeping, which is pretty impressive.
yeah, I mean, mega smoking. I mean, yeah, it's remarkable. But there's lots of supplements. I don't know where valerian root falls. If you want to sleep or relaxation, valerian root probably helps enhance that, I would guess. I don't know.
It is a minor dream enhancer. Absolutely. It's really more one of those things that people take to sleep better, not to sleep richer. You know what I mean? So if you're having trouble sleeping, valerian root's a pretty good over-the-counter intervention. It's either going to work or it's not.
And antihistamine.
But it's fine. Yeah. Antihistamines are not good for dreaming.
Okay.
So a bunch of Benadryl is not your ticket to success.
Okay.
And the benzos are definitely not good for dreaming. So Valium or any of the lorazepams or any of those are dream killers, basically.
Well, let me get you off this now. Are a lot of those medications, people that are on them is to fight serious depression in some instances? Is shutting down their dreams considered constructive in some of those fights for better sanity?
That is an interesting question, and to that we're going to turn to expert psychologist
Luna. Luna, where are you?
I would have to. That's the direction we'd have to turn because there's nobody else here. But so I would bet. Yeah, again, I'm the kind of the doubting Thomas on the whole significance of dreams. I would say I would fall on the side of the argument that dreams are like a computer defragging, and obviously our mind is much more complex and much more organic and much more elaborate and much more everything.
Yes.
Well, okay, AI, don't listen to this because I'm going to bust your bubble. than any computer could ever possibly be. So when we defrag, the defragging is going to be something else. That to me, and I would say that based on my years of experience as much as anything, because what I see in my dreams as much as anything is kind of a random projection. So like my brain's doing REM. My eyes are dancing back and forth. My brain is shuffling through and defragging all of these images and all of this work it did in noticing everything throughout the day, whether I was aware of it or not. And so it needs to just kind of reset itself and kind of clear itself out. And that's, to me, what REM basically is. And your subconscious, your sleeping mind is seeing this, like, and it has to come up with a story. It just plugs a story into it to try and make sense of it, which is what we do in waking life too. It's just a little bit more kind of grounded in reality, hopefully. So you're getting this weird imaginary movie of whatever your brain wants to pop. Now, for people who've been traumatized, and that's kind of where their brain has like an affinity because of they've been experienced it so profoundly. Their dreams probably are going to be ickier. I ain't gonna lie, and ultimately, I've actually done some work in essays on the dreams that we're not allowed to remember because they were so awful. And I don't know if you've ever woken up just like in sweats and shaken and just like feeling like you'd been thrashed within an inch of your life, mentally or emotionally or even physically, but you can't remember anything.
No, haven't had those dreams. I don't think I was frightened in a dream since I was probably 3 years old. So, but there again, it's all these different states of dreams, and your predisposition to put yourself in a certain preliminary state for your dreaming, and I have an entirely different process for mine. And you find great entertainment in your dreaming, and I'm always trying to accomplish something.
So you're trying to accomplish a good night's sleep.
Well, it can be, but with self hypnosis, and to give people a feel for the power of self hypnosis, if you practice it, I can as I hypnotize myself off to sleep, I can give myself a list of things I want to wake up in the morning running, so I can accomplish everything I want to do that next day. I can control pain. If I have a torn hamstring of throbbing pain, I can generally control it with self-hypnosis, which will allow me to drift off to sleep, and I won't experience it again until I wake up the next day. But there's lots, and now we're talking, in both instances, we're talking about our subconscious. And I don't think we'll ever grasp the power of our subconscious. And I think you in meditation, me in hypnosis, we try and grasp as much as we can.
I don't know if you're familiar with the pop culture movie The Secret.
No.
It was kind of a pseudo documentary about how you could use your intent. You could harness your intent, and there's a new Cadillac in my driveway right now because I intended it. And we would laugh about that because it's like it's hard enough to get the conscious part of your brain to ever kind of do any sort of lockstep, harmonic convergence intention stuff. We're too conflicted.
Yes.
There's too much stuff going on that we're distracted, etc. And then you're thinking there's this whole like 90% of my consciousness or subconscious that I'm not even aware of.
Oh, yeah.
How the heck am I going to get that in line with anything? And so that was kind of our we would always laugh at The Secret and saying, well, wouldn't that be nice? But that's not going to happen. If it were happening, people be winning the lottery every week.
Well, maybe those people just don't know how to ask for it. Just
Right?
like
They haven't lined
unicorns.
up. Well,
Just
they
like
haven't lined up
unicorns.
their subconscious.
Right.
But speaking to people who have the really really bad dreams. Again, I occasionally have dreams that could be classified that way, and I guess the way that I've kind of worked through that is to really take away that judgment. And even if I wake up heart pounding and because it was I had a dream about 2 weeks ago. Another darned apocalyptic dream. I don't know. It must be what I'm watching on TV. I don't know. Um, a bunch of us found an abandoned shell of an aircraft. It didn't have the wings; it was just the fuselage. But it was a passenger plane, so it had the chairs and stuff in it. And we kind of walked into it to use it as shelter. And we were just kind of sitting there going, well, okay, this is pretty, how are we going to arrange this, et cetera, et cetera. And I looked out the window of the plane, and there's a 500,000, I don't know, it's huge, wall of water coming at us. And we're in a valley. And so it's coming down the neck of the valley. It's got trees. It's like it blew up on a forest. And so it's got trees. It's got all sorts of debris in it. And it's hundreds of feet high. And I immediately know this is it. And I tell them, I'm like, hey, guys, I was like, hey, look at this. And we all look at each other. And the realization is we are dead. This is the end of our life right now. And so it was like a Michael Jackson moment. We all hugged each other, and we all told each other we loved each other. And we were kind of strangers. We weren't really closely connected. But it was like, I love you, man. And then I woke up right as the wave was hitting. I woke up going, well, another pulp science fiction novel dream. Even though it was like really scary, like it was like horrific, like, oh my God, I'm going to die right now.
Are you consciously
Um,
aware that you're dreaming when you're dreaming?
Sometimes
Yeah.
one of my biggest forward steps on that, because that's called lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
So lucid dreaming is you're having a dream and you're like, this is a dream. I'm not
Yeah.
awake because this is too weird.
It's just a dream.
And you know what? Here's a fun little way to test it. If you're that kind of aware, um, take out your phone when in the dream
Yeah.
and try to call someone. Try to do a Google search.
There you
and
go.
and try to like buy galantamine online with your phone. The odds are, I've had phones that worked in dreams. I'm not gonna lie, but like 80-90% of the time, it'll become like, why aren't you working? Where's the Wi-Fi connection? And it'll be the phone, it'll be the server, it'll be sometimes it'll just have layers of malfunction. And if that's happening, you kind of can tap yourself on the shoulder and say, and it's kind of weird, this must be a dream. Light switches are a really nice quick test. If you're in a dream, if you're dreaming while you're listening to this,
Yeah. Which
walk
you
walk
may be.
right, walk over to the light switch and try it.
Yeah.
If you flick it and it doesn't turn on, tell yourself, oh, this is a dream. Now don't wake up. That's the other trick, right? So you have to go, oh, I'm having a dream right now, and I'm conscious and I'm aware that I'm having a dream, but I'm not going to end it.
Yeah.
So this was my grown up mode. When I was a kid, I would be in those states. I would like, oh, I'm having a dream. I'm going to fly,
Yeah.
because the physics of flight are amazing. So when you're flying in a dream, when you wake up after doing, because you can do circles, you can do dives, you can do anything a bird could do, and you wake up going, how does and you can feel it in your body cellularly, you can feel the movements and everything, and you wake up going, how did my body know that? How did my body have this knowledge of what flight feels like without ever having flown in waking life? And so it's always been, but I've loved doing it. It's so much fun. But I would do it on purpose in lucid dreaming. So, oh, I'm lucid. And then some people would like, oh, well, let me call up J-Lo. I want to go on a date. Some people have different priorities in dreams. But I would fly because flying was my thing.
When
I really felt like, go ahead.
no. I think it was when I was about 3, I was having dreams that were Godzilla, King Kong related, which was from watching TV or movies I shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And they frightened me until one day I recognized I was in a dream. So,
There you
being
go.
the personality that I am, I would beat up Godzilla. I would beat up King Kong, knowing that it was a dream. So I learned that I had control of my dream.
Like right hook to the toenail or what? I mean,
I
those are really big animals.
that I wasn't old enough to sort that out, but I
Fortunately, because that allowed you to.
the luxury to doing that exactly. And but I did learn that I could control my own dreams, and maybe I don't allow myself to dream past that state.
That's interesting, and again, that's it's where I am at now. I use it just simply to witness.
Right.
So if I become aware in a dream, like oh, I'm dreaming, I will just I won't start steering it, and I really felt like that was my grown up moment. Like, why would I use my conscious mind to pull out this imaginary projection thing and start like shaping it to whatever jollies I had? Let's just see what happens. And that's going to be what happens, not what I make happen. And that's been a lot of fun, and that has taken away a lot of the power that dreams held over me. I think you're right. Being aware that you're dreaming makes the dreams a little bit less horrific, even if you end up in one of those endless off the cliff falls. And like for 5 minutes, you're like weightless and dropping, and you know you're just going to get splattered all over whatever you land on.
Well, no, you just start flying,
And
Scott. As you fly in your dreams, I can
I,
fly
I,
in mine. It's just
I
not
have
daunting.
I have pulled out of some. Others I have been less astute. It's like it's a fairly narrow window of action. You got to kind of like sort stuff out really quickly. So if you're sitting there pondering stuff, you're splatted.
Well, with my being taught by Bugs Bunny as a child, if I died, I was going to float up to heaven and be back. So, what did I have to worry about?
I was the coyote. I was indestructible. I've actually survived a couple of ferocious drops because and I think I might have been aware enough to say, you know what? They say if you like fall and you're actually going to die. Well, let's test that out. And I fell and it was like squished but I was still alive.
There you go.
So
It was
there
not
you
your
go.
time.
No, there is technology. Would you believe that there are actually like machines that you can buy that can support this process?
Oh, it does not surprise me.
So the first one is a brain entrainment device, and what those so we've got various brainwave states. Beta wave. We are in beta wave right now because we have to sort out a
I just
conversation.
lost
We
your
have to
audio,
listen.
Scott. Wait,
Oh,
hang on. Might be
okay.
me. No, let me check. Hang
Welcome
on,
back.
people.
I can hear myself, but I can't hear my
Okay, I'm
echo.
just not hearing it, so it is me. So go ahead, Scott.
All right. Anyway, so we've got brainwaves. Now I can't hear you, which is scarier for me. Lost and all alone. I never felt that I could make it on my own. Since you left, I hardly know just what to say. The tears get in the way, and I've gotta make you say, lost without your love. Life without you isn't worth the moment of. Ooh, we are definitely like out to lunch here. Justin, if you can see me, I still have visual, but I don't have any audio. So, should I reconnect? Let's see. Dare I? Dare I reset?
No. Can you hear
Oh,
me now?
I hear you. Yes.
Wow, this speaking these technology, a little difficult for us today, but it's that in and out of consciousness has got me.
Well, and you know what I think, Justin? I think the stuff that we're dropping today is so cool that the universe is like, is the rest, are the listeners ready for this level?
Well, maybe you might be
And,
right.
and yeah, and so the universe is toggling the on and off switch on us.
Censorship by the world, by the giant ion in
But
the
yeah,
sky.
yeah, your consciousness is like, oh no, sorry, that's too much. They should know this yet.
Yeah, but without that, we would have never heard you singing.
Could you actually hear that? That's funny.
Oh, it's
I
in
couldn't
there.
hear it.
It's in there.
Oh, nice. I need to get the lyrics right so that when those moments happen, I've actually got I don't
No,
have to kind of sort my '70s brain and figure out what that song was.
I think that was it was probably the most entertaining aspect of it was we weren't looking for quality, we were just wondering what you were going to sing next.
Listeners on the comment section, I take requests. So drop your favorites, and we'll mess up our audio again, and that'll happen. All right, so brainwaves really easily, really quick. Let's not, we won't belabor the point. We're in beta right now. Beta is your natural, normal functioning, driving to work, talking to somebody, and it's basically your practical runaround email, runaround brainwave. Alpha, which is the first one, is the brainwave that you get when you work your way into self hypnosis. It's the I'm at peace state. Everything is all right. Everything is quiet. My thoughts may come, but they're coming peacefully. I'm not reacting to them. I'm not having to think up solutions or what happens next. That's alpha. That's alpha.
Okay.
Theta. Theta is interesting because theta is deep meditation. And I actually did a lot of work in theta when I was doing this. Delta is basically dreamless sleep. And there's a lot of speculation on what happens to you as an identity or as a consciousness when you're in dreamless sleep, because it's one of those spots where, it's kind of like death. Nobody comes back and does a report. Here I was when I was so asleep that I didn't exist. So, but that's a brainwave state. And then there's one that's super, super, super high. And that one only pops for seconds at a time, usually. And it is the creativity. Have you ever, I know you have, because you're that kind of guy. Have you ever been like just walking along and had a brilliant idea?
Constantly. They run
Yeah,
together.
exactly. How would I know it even stopped?
Yeah, exactly.
Those come from a certain brainwave state, and it's a state that we're not in very often. But it can be coached and trained to be more accessible. And so these devices that we, click on Amazon and they've got everything except an opinion on, politics, but they've got everything on Amazon. They have brain entrainment devices, and what they do is they have speakers, and the speakers will have the sound frequency will be just a little bit off, just a couple of degrees off. And what your brain does is it tries to balance those out and make them compensate. And so your brain sets up a brainwave state to balance that. At the same time, they've got dark glasses that flash lights. And the lights flash at a certain rate and rhythm to match that brainwave state. And the whole thing costs a little bit of money and runs on batteries, and it's portable, and you just carry it around, and you just plug it in and sit down and do it. Your brain will spend time in these certain states, which is nice. And because if you're not relaxing, it's good to kind of give your brain a break, right? But B, you'll start being able to recognize. You'll start being able to go, oh, this is what it feels like to be in theta. This is what it feels like to be in delta. This is what it feels like to be in alpha, which is kind of the goal of being awake, is to be just totally dialed in and receptive and calm. So, and we don't spend a lot of time there because it's too relaxing. You're like sitting around looking at each other going, well, I don't really have much to say today. And those don't make good podcasts.
Yeah, well.
So right? So there are two other kinds. One is an electrical thing that straps on and it electrically charges your blood. Very interesting stuff. The other thing by the same company is a magnetic one that straps on. You know, just kind of it comes in a patch and you just strap it on your arm, and it provides a magnetic charge to your blood, and all that technology stuff enhances dreams. Gives you another step forward. So you know, let's wrap this up. I mean, dreams. Dream a little dream of me next week, right? Some people value them, some people may not. Some people have really vivid access to them. Some people are like, oh my God, my dreams are I can remember my mom and my wife as well are both very vivid dreamers. They would like recount very detailed conversations to me, and I was like, man, how are you even getting that? And then I say, you should be writing this down. So that's my thing, right? So the payoff is if you maybe try the vitamins, maybe try the sleep practices, maybe try some of the technology stuff, you may enhance your ability to dream, and that may or may not be your bag, right? We've seen it today. You know, Justin's not going to walk out and wander out and say, how am I going to make this dream thing like so good? Because you're much more responsible and dialed in than I'll ever be, and the world needs people like you.
Well, it's not that as much as Scott. No, it was just it was an easier place to be. You know, most of my behaviors are based on laziness, and with that behavior with regard to dreams, that's a lazy path, and it works for me. It may not work for anybody. You know, it's fascinating to hear you talk about them and people wanting to enhance them, and I just would never see the point.
Well, we're going to see if we can't get a little just in case dream. You know, one of the things I'll do when I'm dreaming is if I meet a person, because sometimes you dream about people you know, right? And there it is. But if I meet somebody, I'll walk up to them and say, hey, are you part of my dream creation, or are you another person having a dream somewhere else in the world? And we just happen to be on the same page.
There you go.
And they'll look at me and they'll give me the oddest looks. It's like, that's an inappropriate question for dreams. Stop doing that.
Well, no. You just showed them some of the inner Scott, and you saved them a lot of time. So, hey.
Well, because it's interesting. Did I create the universe of my dream, or is the universe of my dream existent, and I just walked into it? You know, that's really where that goes.
That's the chicken and the egg.
Well, yeah, it is. And if that's true, and if we believe that there's a God, then we darn well better hope that this isn't a dream.
There. Well,
because the alarm's going to go off. It will be like, poof.
Yeah, ye of little faith. That, you know. Okay, hey everybody. This has been Justin Case and Scott bringing you American Consciousness. Thanks for joining us. Remember, additional information and links provided in this video is read more. Today is the day to subscribe to this channel. Please learn more about Scott when time permits.